As we know, there's always surprises when it comes to the NFL draft, and it looks like the Cleveland Browns are setting up a huge draft move that really would be a surprise. If you're new to the channel, we're Detroit Lions fans, but we have this channel covering teams that don't get the love nationally like they should, just kind of get ignored by the national media. Cleveland Browns, one of those teams, and so we love covering the Browns and just kind of talking about them. So if you're new Cleveland Browns fans, you definitely want to subscribe as we head into the rest of free agency and into the draft. We talk all about the Cleveland Browns. Okay, here's the move, and plus we'll look at. There's a rumor of some uniform changes, and especially with the helmet. And I would love to give my opinion on the helmet. Being an outsider, we'll get to that at the end here. Let's take a look. The Cleveland Browns are hosting Joe Milton, quarterback, Tennessee, just an absolute stud. Okay. And I'm going to talk about him because he was at Michigan and it didn't work out there. And we'll talk about why that didn't work out and then why this dude isn't just being talked about more and more um, based on what he's done in college, his pro day, his measurables, all that. So, okay. The Browns are hosting Tennessee quarterback Joe Milton for one of their pre-draft visits. So if you look at it, the Browns seem to be set, right? Obviously, Deshaun Watson, especially with the contract, there's just no debate. He's the starter. But then you got Winston was brought in. Then you've got Tyler Huntley and DTR, like a lot of quarterbacks. Like it seems like we're good. But the thing about Andrew Berry is the guy has said multiple times, we are proactive. And you've seen this now, and there's a legendary GM that said you take a quarterback every draft, every offseason, you add a new quarterback. You can always cut them, release them, trade them, do something, but it's the most important position on the field. And so if you look at the top of the draft, you've got all these quarterbacks that are going to go 1, 2, 3, possibly 4, 5, whatever, right? And then you've got Deshaun, or then you've got Milton, who is really interesting. Now, the Lions took Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker in the third round because he had the injury. He slid all the way to the third round. The Lions are set at quarterback with Jared Goff, but it's the most important position on the field. So if you go through another season with some struggles or something weird with Deshaun Watson, what you've seen, and you saw it with Russell Wilson, all right, guaranteed contract, we'll figure out a way to eat it. I'm not saying that's not ideal, right? That Deshaun Watson, this whole thing blows up, but get yourself an option with a really good quarterback in Joe Milton. Maybe he's a healthy scratch. Maybe you don't use him this year, but then next year, Jameis Winston, who's on a 1-year deal, goes. You just never know. But I really like it. He's 6'5, 235. Okay. He's unbelievably athletic. The guy is just like arm strength. Everything is out of this world. You saw him at the pro day just throwing bombs. He's athletic to make every throw. He can move about the pocket. Like everything's great about him. He was at Michigan. Um, he attempted 4 passes as a freshman at Michigan. So he kind of was like there, but then there was some coaching changes. There was some movement with Michigan, and he just was like, I'm gonna transfer. And it was like, okay. And so Michigan at the time brought in Shea Patterson, who was like, all right, fine. We got Shea Patterson. Remember, he's just like this, the next Johnny Manziel. Well, he was terrible and it didn't work out. But Milton was like, all right, since you're bringing in a new guy, like compete, I'm just going to head out. And so he heads out, goes to Tennessee where he sits behind Hendon Hooker, but then he plays. Hendon Hooker's like, this dude's incredible. 6'5, 235. I love it. So keep an eye on that. I think that's something that's going to happen. Now, as far as let's just switch gears over to the helmet. There's rumors that 2 big changes are coming to the helmet. Man, I have learned to really love the Cleveland Browns uniform. In a world where we're constantly changing, it's the thing to change. They are like, it's the thing to not change. We're orange and brown and like a really dark brown, but it's not even, it's like black almost. And our names are the Browns. And we don't really have any logos or numbers or anything. It's just like, I love it. I love it in a world where we're always wanting like the coolest thing. Just this dark brown with a orange helmet. Absolutely love it. So the rumor is that the helmets are going to go to a white face mask and a glossy finish. White face mask, glossy finish. Okay, fine. But don't just gosh, don't mess with the helmet. And actually, like, the white is fine. I like the darker face mask too, but you can see how people have said, don't mess with the helmet. Glad they didn't mess with the helmet. Keep It's the cleanest, simplest look in the NFL. So let me know in the comments when you think of uniforms, like, you've got all these other teams that are trying to do cool stuff, like the Jets do their neon green. And there's color rush stuff. That's cool. Uniforms are just cool. They're a huge part of the game. But what makes others so cool is that they're compared up against like the Browns simple. I love the Browns uniforms. So please don't change and mess with the helmet too much. Oh my gosh, I don't like that at all. Um, but if you look at the Browns as we go, just kind of wrap up here, and we look at the draft and what they're doing, Andrew Berry is really, really good. And I think if you're a Browns fan, you have to be like, okay, we've got a really good GM. And I think it's it's nice to have a good GM. Holy smokes, the Lions have it as well, where man, they can adapt. They can they can be creative, but they have a plan. And I think everyone says they have a plan, but it's like, that really wasn't the plan, or they don't have a plan, or it's easy things get off plan. You saw it a lot in this free agency. Well, not a lot, but you saw there's 4 or 5. I'm sure it happens more than we even know, where a guy says he's coming to a team, but then last minute he went somewhere else, or he ends up re-signing. Like, that messes with your plan. You had a plan to do that. And so Brad Holmes, GM of the Detroit Lions, talks about A plan, B plan, C plan. I feel like the good teams have a plan. They stick to it. They can easily adapt. Cleveland Browns seem to be that. Case in point, the Deshaun Watson contract. That's a good plan. Let's get it. Let's get a star quarterback. You really have to have one. We all know it. But then it's like, well, he's kind of injured. I don't love fully guaranteed contract. Looks like we're kind of stuck with him. He's got a big cap hit, all these things. They adjust, they move. They don't have the draft picks. That's fine. They use other draft picks to acquire a really good wide receiver. So they've got wide receivers. They've got offensive lines good, quarterback. They're going to add another running back. Defense is really strong. It's like crazy, right? They're his ability to just kind of keep it going and make this team competitive in the AFC North. I absolutely love it. So make sure you subscribe, especially if you're a Browns fan. Hit that subscribe button. Love talking about them, and we'll see all of you on the next one.